Alright guys, welcome to another episode. Today I'm at 4Stroke Garage. I brought the 80 series. Actually the 80 series has been giving me some transmission trouble, and so I wanted to come to the specialist. When you come to a specialist and you see valve bodies sitting and transmission sitting open, then you know you're in the right place. These are all 100 series transmissions. This is an 80 series transmission. So I need to get mine out because it's been giving me issues. There's been shaking happening, which he believes is the valve body. If I need, this is a torque converter. So if I need torque converter and the valve body, then it could be a bit pricey, but we do want to get it done. So this is the specialist. We're here, we're delivering the car, and we'll be back in a few days to diagnose. So we're going to have the transmission opened up in a few days, and then he'll let me know what the issue is. Alright guys, so you saw me at the transmission shop. Bit of a tricky day, you know, I didn't expect this, but yeah, I got this Land Cruiser 80 series about a year ago, and I knew it had a bit of a jerk with the automatic transmission, and I believed, yeah, I knew it perhaps needed some work, but we've actually taken the car in now, because as you guys know, it's after the transmission fluid change that the symptoms of my transmission became worse. And so, you know, the big deadly myth, the one that I had been fearing, the one I've read on forums of, if it's an older vehicle and you don't really know the service history, don't touch the transmission, or maybe don't flush the fluid. Well, I did on a transmission of 200,000 kilometers, and it did indeed start slipping after that. Well, 3-4 weeks after that, which is just crazy. But I always take things as they come, sort of, you know, think everything happens for a reason. So perhaps doing this kind of work was needed, and we can do this kind of work if we do it well. That's why I went to the, you know, a really good transmission specialist. Can disassemble and assemble it within an hour, and you know, just really knows his stuff. And hopefully in the next video we'll get into that. But today is going to be part 1 of this series, where I take you through what I end up doing with my Land Cruiser 80, or what I end up deciding on how to repair the transmission. But basically I'll take you through the main symptoms right now, so you guys can know. This is a petrol 80, of course, so this is the A442F transmission, and it's a 4-speed transmission. Usually if things like clutches go, then you can get a clutch kit, but the big components of this transmission are, of course, the valve body, and then there's, of course, a torque converter. Now the valve body is like a labyrinth, it's like a complicated maze of valves and those sort of things, so it allows the fluid to move into each area, and it's basically the brains of the transmission. Now what I was explaining at the transmission shop was that's one of the areas that goes bad if, you know, the transmission has not had a fluid change. It's got these the what's it called, there's a torque converter and a valve body. The valve body has got these little sort of steel balls inside it, and in the 100 series also has these steel balls. Apparently from the 200 series they went to plastic balls, and it's these steel balls, when they're moving around this maze of the valve body, that they start causing a bit of damage on the edges, and that can cause you know, issues in shifting and whatnot. And then we of course have the clutches. If the clutches are worn, then you can also have issues with shifting. I've got a vibration basically in the transmission, especially when the car is at a stop and has to take off from a stop. The vibration can definitely be felt. So we're definitely gonna see what the best way to do this. I know there, in some cases, if you're gonna have to replace the valve body and the torque converter and open the gearbox and change the clutches, that's a bit of a larger job. It might be better to just get a used transmission. But then the way I think about that is a used transmission is still a used transmission. It's still down the line perhaps gonna have those issues. So I'm in a bit of a conundrum, a bit of a dilemma here on exactly what I'll do, but we're gonna figure it out and I'll keep you posted. But this is part 1 of this series on tackling transmission problems on my Land Cruiser 80 series. So stay tuned. If you enjoy, hit like, subscribe, comment down below, and catch you in the next one. Alright guys, so quick update on the 80 series. I was waiting for him to drop the transmission and then give me a bit of a diagnosis, maybe take out the valve body just to see the condition of it, and check out the torque converter as well. So he managed to get those things out, drop the transmission. The good news was that the bolts were all tight and really hard to get through, so indication that the transmission had not been opened up before. But my vehicle did have a tow hitch on it, and there was some indication that maybe there had been some towing done with the vehicle. That's why there was this wear and tear. And the gearbox oil, of course, had never been changed. So, standard wear and tear, a bit of towing, and definitely it affected the clutches. But most importantly, and the bad news that was shared was that the valve body is definitely in bad shape, and also the torque converter is not quite opening up rightly. So even that needs to be somewhat refurbished. Problem with things right now, and with what the pandemic caused, there's a lot of part shortages and a lot of hiked prices for spare parts, which is really ridiculous right now. So I mean, I'll take you guys to my gearbox specialist at some point in a few of the other videos. This is going to be a part series as I take you through what it takes me to get this vehicle back on the road. Right now the vehicle is obviously sitting, and we'll see it at some time. Just waiting for the gearbox specialist now to get back to me, because when I search for these parts from everywhere that I've searched for them, it's just getting a ridiculous cost, And then there are the other options you would consider, that if you need to get valve body, a torque converter, and the clutches to rebuild the whole gearbox, would you rather just get an ex-Japan gearbox? But I'm not so much of that opinion, because when you get an ex-Japan gearbox, it's not guaranteed. I mean, it could be the same situation. You could drive it for a year and then it starts giving symptoms and be in the same situation, because these are 20 to 25-year-old vehicles. So my idea is, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this once. I'm going to do it right, so that I can go another 300,000 kilometers. And if you're not towing and stuff, it's going to be much less wear and tear. So this is where I'm at right now. I'm in a bit of a limbo, and I'm waiting for my gearbox specialist to perhaps find me some options of maybe some refurbished kits that he can put in and that he's comfortable in. Because for me to get the parts, I'm not quite sure I'll be able to handle it. So we'll just have to see. I mean, it's a Land Cruiser 80 series. You do it once, you do it right. It's a strong transmission. These A442Fs are quite strong transmissions, but my vehicle perhaps had done some towing. But at least the bolts were all tight, so at least it hasn't been opened up before, which means we are the ones doing this work for the first time. So that's my update, and this has been part 1 of this video series. So please hit like, subscribe, and catch the future episodes on this Land Cruiser 80 series transmission rebuild. Cheers.